J.K. Rowling is trending once again, and I think you probably can guess why. She got involved in one of the weirdest Twitter threads and back and forth that I've seen in a while. And it started, I think, with this. She was responding to a comment that said, "The Nazis burnt books on trans healthcare and research. Why are you so desperate to uphold their ideology around gender?" Which, them's fighting words. So she responded and said, how? How did you type this out and press send without thinking? I should maybe check my source for this because it might have been a fever dream. And so her issue there doesn't seem to be the linkage of her gender ideology, her ceaseless campaign against the trans community to the Nazis. It's they need to check their sources and the factual claims that the Nazis burnt books on trans healthcare and research, which she does not accept. Okay, well the thing is, they did, so people clarified that. And you can see this, Alejandra Caraballo posted some sources about how the Nazis targeted transgender people. So sources were requested, sources were provided. Okay, so now there's an opportunity for growth and learning, or not at all. And so J.K. Rowling responded, "Neither of your articles support the contention that trans people were the first victims of the Nazis or that all research on trans healthcare was burned in 1930s Germany. You are engaging in lying, Alejandra." So you might see a bit of a problem with that. That's not what the claims were at all. Why are you adding all of these qualifications to it? The first person just said that the Nazis hated trans people and destroyed literature about them. And now you're like, well, you said that every book was destroyed. They didn't say that. And that they were the first victims. First of all, who cares if they were the first victims? They were victims of the Nazis. Why are you splitting hairs with Nazi war crimes? But anyway, she's moving the goalposts there, which thankfully Alejandro Caraballo pointed out, because a lot of people were like, that's not what the claims were. So J.K. Rowling actually responded to it and posted this. Someone else had made claims about the first targets. That's not what Alejandro Caraballo was saying. So why are you like lumping everyone together? It almost seems as if you don't consider them to be humans. But anyway, look, that should have been the end of it. And in terms of direct back and forth, it just might be. But the interesting thing is, ever since then, she has not stopped tweeting about this. She seems to really sense a crisis here. And the crisis isn't that, as has been presented in the sources, that she does share some ideological overlap with the Nazis. The crisis is that people have pointed it out. And so she is continually fighting against this, even though the facts are not on her side. So she's retweeting people that are saying there were no laws or agencies targeting trans people for elimination as there were for Jews and gays. Nobody's saying that the Nazi campaign against trans people was exactly the same in every way as against Jewish people. Who cares? Again, they were targeted. That doesn't bother you, clearly. It does not bother you. That's really weird. You should work on that part of yourself rather than like trying to squirm out of responsibility for the fact that you are sort of the modern day successor to that anti-trans ideology. And there's far more. She's got these thread on the persistent claims about trans people, the Nazis. She's already seen the sources and the documentation, and she's still fighting against it. Because to her, the important thing is not that she's not like the Nazis. The important thing to her is trying to do PR for the Nazis. She's trying to convince people that the Nazis did not hunt down and kill trans people, which they did. She's trying to convince them that they didn't destroy trans or generalized LGBTQ literature, which they very much did. She seems to be less interested in protecting her own reputation than protecting the reputation of the goddamn Nazis. And again, we already showed you the sources provided by Alejandro Caraballo, and lots of people have been sending them to J.K. Rowling. I'm glad that people are doing that. Do bear in mind that you're wasting your time because she doesn't care. She's never ever going to learn anything on this because she's not interested in learning. She's done with that part of her life. She has her positions and she likes them and she wants to maintain them. But if anyone is interested in the facts, on the 6th of May, 1933, the Nazis violently looted and closed the Institute for Sexual Science, burning its extensive collection on the streets. Yeah, but were they the first books they burned? Anyway, unknown numbers of German gay men, lesbians, and trans people fled abroad. and others entered into marriages in order to appear to conform to Nazi ideological norms, experiencing severe psychological trauma. The thriving gay culture in Berlin was lost. Most homosexuals were sent to police prisons rather than concentration camps where they were exposed to inhumane treatment. Yeah, but all of this is just inconvenient facts to J.K. Rowling, and she would prefer that you not learn it. The police established lists of homosexually active persons. Significant numbers of gay men were arrested, of whom an estimated 50,000 received severe jail sentences and brutal conditions. But were they the exact same conditions that Jewish people faced? Again, not the claims that are being made, but that's a good way to weasel out of your ideological overlap here. An estimated 10 to 15,000 men who were accused of homosexuality were deported to concentration camps. Most died. All of this should be deeply troubling. It isn't to her. It just isn't. And look, I want you, if you believe that I'm being unfair, okay, I want you, whenever you watch this, maybe you're watching this on the day that we upload it, maybe you're watching it this weekend, maybe you're coming to this a year later. I want to run a little experiment with you. I want you to load up J.K. Rowling's Twitter account right now and see what she's been tweeting about. Because I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty confident that I can say she's tweeting about trans people. Always, every day. And it's really weird. And I know some people think that like you should get off her back. She's allowed to have her own opinions, which she is. Bear in mind that she's not just having her own opinions, she's advocating for legal restrictions on the rights of gay and trans people. So sort of a bigger problem than just opinion. But this is not about like someone asked George R.R. Martin a political question and he answered wrong, and now you're all just trying to cancel him. She will not stop talking about this. She's a writer, but the vast majority of the words she produces on a daily basis are not about wizards and witches or detectives or whatever. It's about how trans people are awful and they're a threat to women. That's what she has made her career about. And she is a writer, so I think that we can criticize her for her writing. This is the writing that she's doing. Why she has insisted on engaging on these feuds about these topics rather than ever being even 1% willing to learn. People would have accepted you back in if you had been willing to take your, old school, like trans exclusionary feminist ideas and been willing to grow as time went by. Maybe you've never known trans people, maybe you've never known gay people, but there were trans people and gay people who were willing to help work with you early on. You've just shown that you're not willing to do that. You're not interested in learning. You're not interested in accepting these people as people. And so if that bothers people, I think that that is perfectly acceptable. And much more importantly than J.K. Rowling, this is the truth of what the Nazis did. And rather than spending all of your energy hiding from that truth, maybe think for a second about why it is that you agree with the Nazis on these topics.